The wins keep on piling up. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Sports. That is 4 wins in a row for your fighting Phillies. They take game 1 in this series against the Milwaukee Brewers by a score of 4-3. Nola goes 7+ strong innings of work today. Kyle Schwarber was absolutely amazing in this game with the bat. First pitch, bottom of the first inning, leadoff home run. Thank you very much. How do you do? Kyle Schwarber, 4th straight game with a home run, and he's also flashing the leather in this game. Like, what the hell? In what world is Kyle Schwarber going to left field and literally clinging to the wall, jumping as high as he can to make a fantastic catch? Like, what the absolute fuck was that? It was something out of a miracle. Holy shit, Schwarber. Holy shit. And honestly, that was the inning when the Brewers finally got on the board and they broke up the no-hitter from Nola. And, that didn't make the inning any worse than it was, even though that inning was not on Nola whatsoever. But overall, it was just really, there were, it was a sloppy game, honestly, defensively. There were quite a few mistakes. You made 3 errors in this game, some misjudged balls, some unluckiness, some weird bounces basically through the Brewers throughout this game, especially in the later stages. But you found a way to persevere. You tacked on some runs early in the ball game, and you basically didn't look back. The Brewers tried to chip into the game, and your bullpen prevented that. Gregory Soto comes in that 8th inning when Nola allows a couple of leadoff hitters on. He gets out of that situation, only allowing a run. And then Craig Kimbrell comes in for the 9th inning. Was simply fantastic again. The only base runner he allowed was, a weird bounce on a ground ball to Bryce that took a weird bounce going into the dirt, hit his wrist a little bit, and he wasn't able to make the play. But besides, and he also had a little of throwing error over at first base trying to pick the runner off, but that's also a ball that Alec Bohm should be able to catch. So on both sides, the Phillies were definitely a little bit cautious with the runners in this game, especially Nola, because the Brewers were running a lot on the base paths in today's game when they finally got on base. But overall, you shut the door down. Craig Kimbrell proves once again he's a different version of himself. The dude is absolutely fantastic. Bryce Stott, could we say he's elite? Could we say Bryson Stott is elite? With the way that, he gets down into the count, it doesn't matter the pitcher that he's facing who's throwing, chugging 100 miles an hour. This is during, the bullpen for the Milwaukee Brewers. They come in early in this game for Julio Teheran, and Bryson Stott with a couple of runners on, down in the count. Bryson Stott has been much better against the fastball this year, something that he did struggle against in his rookie season, and something that he was really looking, to improve coming into this year, and he has improved tenfold in that. My God. Bryson Stott just shooting it the other way, scoring another run to put the 4th run on the board for the Phillies. Nick Castellanos gets an RBI single in this game. Trey Turner getting a triple after the Brewers center fielder was just being lackadaisical with the ball bouncing into the gap. He was taking all of his time in the world just gifting Trey Turner extra bases. Like, holy shit. It was a weird game. It was no doubt a very, very weird game. He came up with the win. 4 straight wins after winning the series against the San Diego Padres to start off the second half. Another important series against the team that you're battling with, for the wild card, basically, even though the Brewers are technically in first place in the NL Central, but who knows if they can just constantly flip-flop with the Cincinnati Reds. Technically, they are going to be one of those teams that you're fighting for with the wild card spots. So it's an important, to put your foot down in the first game of this series and get a nice W to try to take the stronghold of this series tomorrow night. I believe Christopher Sanchez on the mound. So definitely offense will have to show up for that, but Christopher Sanchez has been solid for you ever since he's taken over that 5th spot in the rotation. So offense, I would like to see more. I know one of the Brewers pitchers, I believe it was Wade Miley, was supposed to go tomorrow, but he was put on the IL, so the Brewers are most likely going to have to either call someone up or they're going with a bullpen game. So that is definitely something for you to take advantage of going into tomorrow's game, offensively, basically. But it's, Kyle Schwarber looks like he's found his stride. 4 straight games with a home run. The dude is just absolutely annihilating the ball. Like I said earlier, first pitch of the game. And, Kyle Schwarber loves his leadoff home runs. He just loves to go the other way, cranking it, first pitch, people barely in their seats, and it's already 1-0 Phillies. And Aaron Nola in this game was very solid. Got a nice time off with the All-Star break. His last start against the Miami Marlins, the game before the All-Star break happened, was not pretty at all. It was borderline atrocious, probably even more than borderline. But he gets a lot of days rest here. I believe it was like 8 days rest. So, I believe Aaron Nola's stats are way better when he gets an extra day of rest. So that definitely was a good calling sign for this. And who knows? Who knows? Overall, Aaron Nola had a pretty solid game. I think he was getting a little bit gassed going into that 8th inning. That's, his pitches were all over the place. He was leaving the curveball hanging. The fastball was more up and in, like around the middle of the zone. So that was, looking like he was just getting gassed and probably what resulted in the 2 leadoff guys getting on. But Gregory Soto did do a nice job of pitching to Christian Yelich, getting a weak ground ball. Sadly, they weren't able to turn the double play in that scenario, but then he would manage to get William Contreras to ground out to end off the inning in very few amount of pitches. And then Craig Kimbrell, like I said earlier, has been doing the job that he has been doing all year and shutting down the door. You're finding ways to win. You're finding ways to win. Your pitching helped you a lot today. Your offense put a couple of runs on the board, and you didn't look away from it, regardless if the Brewers tried to chip into the lead or not. I'm not scared of this Brewers team at all. Not scared of their bats, even though they were hot coming into this game. They won 4 in a row coming into this. All of those games were against the Cincinnati Reds, so not really scared of it at all. That NL Central is a very, very, very weak division. I feel like you can take advantage of a lot of these teams. So, you gotta take what you can do. And apparently there's a stat out there that Gregory Soto has been very good this year with inherited runners. I believe Corey Seidman said it himself. I gotta find this stat here on Twitter. Corey Seidman from NBC Sports Philadelphia. So, let's see. Aaron Nola, okay, that's before the 8th inning started. Okay. Gregory Soto takes over with 1 out in the tying run at first base. Soto has stranded 16 of 19 inherited runners this season, one of the highest rates in all of baseball. So apparently, Gregory Soto comes in with inherited runners, and he is absolutely electric. Even more different than, when he comes in with a clean inning. When he comes in with a clean inning, he walks 50 billion guys, but apparently he's a completely different guy. Completely different. When runners on, when he comes into the ball game. But it definitely is a different look because I believe in that situation, if Jose Alvarado was available and not injured, that probably would have been more of a spot for Jose Alvarado. And I do think what's contributing to Gregory Soto looking a little more, even though he was not shaky today at all, this is just me like going back into the past couple of appearances from him. With Sir Anthony Dominguez being on the IL, with Jose Alvarado being on the IL, it's forcing you to use Gregory Soto way more, and maybe that's exposing him a little bit to his weaknesses, to where when you don't have that deeper part of the back end of the bullpen, when you can interchange, some nights you use Sir Anthony Alvarado, some nights you use Soto, Sir Anthony, or mix and match constantly. Soto gets a little bit overused. Some of his weaknesses come out. And instead of having that deep, fleshed out part of the back end where you don't use those guys as much and they're more fresher when they come out for their appearances, I feel like that's what contributed more to Gregory Soto struggling in his past couple of outings. And also you got the All-Star break factoring into that, getting off the rust and everything there too. So that's basically just me nitpicking on that point. But Soto was really good today. He got out of a jam that Aaron Nola put him into. It was a weak ground ball by Christian Yelich that scored the run. Sadly, you couldn't turn a double play in that scenario, but you got out of the inning regardless. And then Craig Kimbrell just continues to be amazing. I know I'm constantly repeating the parts here, but Basically, if you look out throughout this entire game, there's not much to talk about, honestly. Runners in scoring position, you went 2 for 10, so that still kind of bites you in the back of the toenail because, there were a lot of chances to tack on some more runs. JT Realmuto had a couple of chances. Alec Bohm had a couple of chances. And there's also something I do want to bring up here with the lineup in regard to, JT Realmuto and Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm, he's one of the better RBI guys on this team. Why not, flip Alec Bohm and JT? Because, JT comes up, I believe it was in the early part of this ball game, had a couple of runners on with Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then, a couple of times he strikes out with runners on. And then it's 2 outs for Bryson Stott. The first time Stott wasn't able to get anything done. The second time Bryson Stott was able to cash in. Why not put Alec Bohm in JT's spot with 1 out, and Bohm has a better chance to drive in a couple of runs? So that would be more ideal in my honest opinion, because JT is still in the stage this year where the peaks and valleys are just constantly extreme, where he looks good one game, he looks good a couple of games, and then he looks the other couple of games. It's just that weird part of the year for JT. I don't know how to describe it. It's just the way it is. So why not maybe lower JT in the lineup a little bit to where maybe he bats lower, he sees some better pitches to hit, and maybe he gets, his confidence back up. You move Alec Bohm up and put him in better opportunities to drive and runs, him and Bryson Stott with the way they've been hitting basically all year long. It would be a nice 1-2 punch right there. I just like the idea better. Maybe you lower JT in the lineup, maybe he gets his confidence up to where he sees better pitches. That's just me. Because sometimes I just see JT come up with runners on, and it's just a dreadful at bat. He gets up into the count 2-0, and then he swings at the next 3 pitches that are not even close to the strike zone. One in on his hands, one in the dirt, and one completely outside where he's just trying to swing to stay alive. It's just something that, it's just ugly. It's just ugly. Put Bohm in that spot, and you have a better chance to drive in some runs because Bohm has been one of your better hitters with runners on this year. That's just something I would do. I'm not sure if Rob's ever going to do that because it's Rob Thompson. Sometimes he's very stingy with the lineup. But that's something I would consider. Maybe it gives Bryce a little more pitches too, because Bryce maybe doesn't see many pitches because the guys on the mound know they could probably pitch more to JT because it might be an easier out than Bryce Harper. So that's just something to think about there. But if you look at the lineup today, everyone did have their hit. The Phillies had 12 hits in this game. But also something I do want to bring up in regards to this game. Goddamn fucking Derek Hall. Dude is useless. And Rob Thompson, before the game once again, blue balls us with the possibility that Bryce Harper might not play first base again in this series, when he said it before this series after, I believe, last night's game against San Diego. And that's Sunday night's game against San Diego, where he says Bryce Harper will most likely play first base at some point in the Milwaukee series. And then he comes today again saying that, he might not play this series. Maybe he'll appear, but most likely he'll be playing first base at some point this weekend in Cleveland. Come on, Rob. Give him a chance. I know you're probably worried. You want to get him extra reps in the field right now before he's properly prepared to go to first base. But at this point, anything is probably better than Derek Hall at first base. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There was a play during this game where Bryson Stott made a nice play to field the ground ball, throws it over to Derek Hall at first base, and the dude just misses it. And it makes the inning continue. Another run scores in that process. If Derek Hall catches the ball, it's a 3-1 game at that point. Instead, it's 3-2, and Aaron Nola's got to throw more pitches. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And plus, he's not hitting for power at all. All the people at the beginning of the year on these radio shows calling in and everything like that, putting all these high expectations on what Derek Hall is going to be this year. Oh, he's going to replace Rhys Hoskins. Oh, he's going to hit 20 home runs. Oh, he's going to hit 25 home runs. Oh, he's going to knock in 70 RBI. Yeah, that's not who Derek Hall is. That is not who Derek Hall is. Last year was a nice surprise when he came up when Bryce got hurt. It was a nice surprise for that little small sample size. That's not who he is. He's one of those players that's too good for AAA, but not good enough for the big leagues. He's like a quadruple A player. That's what Jake Cave is doing down in AAA. He's absolutely dominating, but he's not a good major league hitter either. You're like in that, space in between major leagues and AAA. I see Corey describes it as the black hole. It's basically it. Derek Hall is not a major league player. I'm sorry. I feel bad for the guy, I do, but it's just the fact that you're not doing enough. You're a power bat that's not doing it. And yes, you eventually luck into a home run because you have so much raw power in your swing. But when you're not making contact with the ball at all and you're just an easy out for pitchers, I'm sorry, dude, you got to do something. Like Cody Clemens would be properly better at first base with his glove alone. I'd rather have that right now than Derek Hall. I'd rather. And seriously, Bryce Harper can't be any worse defensively than Derek Hall is, in my honest opinion. I just can't see it. I cannot see it. It's ridiculous. I know I didn't want to go down the negative hole, but it's just, Jesus Christ, Derek Hall just is infuriating. It's infuriating. It really is. But going through this game lineup-wise, Kyle Schwarber 1 for 5. He's fantastic. Trey Turner 2 for 4. Nick Castellanos 1 for 4 with an RBI. Bryce Harper 1 for 3. JT 1 for 3 with a walk. Bryce Harper also had a walk in this game as well. Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm both 2 for 4 with an RBI each. Brandon Marsh 1 for 4. Derek Hall 1 for 4. Edmundo Sosa came into the game for a defensive replacement. But everyone in the lineup got their share of hits today. Rojas came in as a defensive replacement, put Marsh over in left field. There was a play earlier in the game, too. I don't think it was fully Marsh's fault, but the ball just kept carrying. Yes, he probably could have had a better read on it, but I don't think it was fully Marsh's fault. It was the way the ball was carrying today. It was a warm, hot, muggy day. The ball's going to carry regardless. But Rojas also did make a nice play in the top of the 9th inning on a ball that looked like it was going to bloop into the mid part of the outfield. But Rojas, with his speed and the way he could track the ball, came on and made a nice catch. And it ended off the ball, and that was the last out of the ball game, because if that ball blooped with the guy on second base, it would have been a tied game. And it would have been Craig Kimbrell's first blown save. So it was nice to see, Rojas out there for defensive replacements. It's nice to have a couple of, center fielders in the depths. Like Pache, sadly, he's getting that screw taken out of his elbow, so he's going to be out for a little bit. But, he's a really reliable center fielder. Rojas looks like he's a really reliable center fielder. So that's definitely something there. But overall, 4 wins in a row. Very nice. Kyle Schwarber's bat's waking up. Kind of sucks that Bryce Harper didn't go deep today, because everyone coming into this game, it's Julio Teheran on the mound. Bryce Harper has 9 career home runs against Julio Teheran. But the more people kept bringing it up, I was like, okay, people, the more you say it, the more it's probably not going to happen, because, jinxes exist and karma exists. And honestly, one of my buddies was saying this in the Discord chat that we have, that because Kyle Schwarber made that fantastic catch, the baseball gods were not going to let the Phillies have a cleaner rest of the inning because of those last 2 things that, Aaron Nola allowed in that inning. What was it, the 5th for the Brewers? Kyle Schwarber makes that fantastic catch. Then the infield hit happens, which breaks up the no-hitter. Then the ball carries out the center field, which Brandon Marsh couldn't track. Then you get the Derek Hall dropped throw from Bryson Stott at first base. So literally, was it just the baseball god saying, okay, Kyle Schwarber, one of the worst defenders in the goddamn world, made the most ridiculous catch I've ever seen, and now we got to even it out a little bit. We got to even it out. Maybe that was the case on why that inning unfolded the way it did for the Brewers. Who knows? Who knows, though? Definitely interesting, though. Definitely an interesting way to look at it. But there's also some interesting things looking around baseball. Are you guys like looking at all with the Braves and the Diamondbacks? They're in the top of the 8th inning. The game is 13-13. Both of these teams keep trading blows the entire game. It is absolutely nuts. This game is on crack. It's on methamphetamine. It's on certain type of drugs that I have no idea exist. I can't imagine this game at all. I'd be excited, frustrated, really what the fuck's going on. I'd just be dazed and confused. I wouldn't be able to handle what's happening. So much stress throughout the game. It's crazy. It is crazy. And also, apparently, the Mets were leading the White Sox 11-4. I believe it was in the 7th inning, and the White Sox scored 5 runs to make it 11-9, to make it a 2-run ball game. So are the Mets going to choke that game away? That would be an epic Mets collapse if I've ever seen one. LOL Mets just reign supreme there. Very interesting. The Marlins, they're also tied with the St. Louis Cardinals. I believe the Marlins lost yesterday against the Cardinals, so that definitely helps the Phillies' case in terms of the wild card standings. So if the Marlins were to lose to the Phillies today, the Phillies would hop them in the NL East, I believe, because I believe right now the Phillies are tied with the Marlins in the NL East standings for second place. So I'm not sure what that does with the wild card standings, though. Yeah, right now, currently, the Phillies are tied with the Miami Marlins. The Phillies have played two less games than the Marlins, so I believe right now the Phillies hold that second place in the wild card in the NL East standings. Where does that put the Phillies in the wild card standings, though? Okay, so right now it is a 3-way tie for the wild card spots, regardless of the first. So the second wild card spot, the third wild card spot, it's a 3-way tie between the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, and the Marlins. But if the Marlins lose, that wild card spot will probably be, well, the Marlins lose, we hold the second wild card spot. We're alone there. So that's the most important thing. So definitely pray the St. Louis Cardinals win this game. It's in the top of the 8th inning, 2 outs, a man on first base for the Marlins. 2-2 game there. And currently with the Mets Chicago game, they're in the bottom of the 7th, runner on second base. So yeah, interesting there. Interesting. Definitely interesting. This game is on crack, though. And for Lucas Giolito, who's probably going to be a guy that's on the trade market for this deadline, someone just tweeted out that he's had the worst 2 starts possible going into the trade deadline. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. And here's a little bit of a stat line in terms of the way the Phillies have been winning so far this season. So this is from one of my buddies, Mark Henry Jr. on Twitter. You can find him there. So he put this out. So the Phillies are 12-5 in their last 17, which is 114 win pace. 19-8 in their last 27, 114 win pace. 27-10 in their last 37, which is 118 win pace. 37-23 in their last 60, 100 win pace, and 47-33 in their last 80 games, 95 win pace. So, yeah, Phillies have been winning ball games. They've been showcasing why they're such a better team right now. And they're showcasing, how they're supposed to look. There's definitely still issues, of course. The runners in scoring position, that's always going to be an issue so far with this team. I believe Dave Dombrowski will address that at the deadline, getting more bats. I believe he was on the John Heyman podcast earlier today talking about, Bryce Harper going to first base, Kyle Schwarber slotting into the DH spot, and then going to the trade deadline to find a left fielder that you can slot in the lineup. But I'm sure Dave Dombrowski has a lot up his sleeve still. I know some people are trying to find a way to make something up to get Shohei Ohtani to Philadelphia. I don't see that happening at all. I know I saw the betting odds for it. The Phillies were the 3rd best odds to trade for Shohei Ohtani, but of course the Dodgers were first and the Yankees, I believe, were second and all that. But I don't see any way possible that the Phillies can trade for Shohei Ohtani. They just don't have enough to give up for him that for a team like the Dodgers could easily outbid and all that stuff. Same thing with the Yankees and the prospect system. The Phillies just don't have enough down there. They don't. If they had plenty more, they would have been able to do it. But no, they can't. They simply can't do that for Ohtani. They could probably pay Ohtani, but are they willing to go into the $50 million to $60 million range? Or the $500 million to $600 million range? Because Shohei Ohtani is going to make at least $500 million on the market alone. He's going to be breaking so many records with his deal that he signs in the offseason. whether he signs it with the team that he gets traded to, because he has to be getting traded. The Angels can't be that stupid. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not in that position. Mike Trout's hurt. They got to cash in on Ohtani. They gotta find a way to trade Ohtani, but their owner is stupid. Their owner is very stupid. I don't think the Phillies have enough in their prospect pool to trade to get to Ohtani. And that's also what the risk of, even if he did trade for Ohtani, is it guaranteed that he signs here? It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. I know there's a lot of star talent on this Phillies roster. Bryce Harper is a huge factor into why that is. Can Bryce Harper find a way to get a Shohei Ohtani here? I have no idea. Does Shohei Ohtani just prefer the West Coast? Because that was one of the reasons why. That was one of his main priorities when he was coming over from Japan. He wanted to play on the West Coast because that's where a lot of the Japanese players go to, because it is closer to home. So that's definitely an impact there. If I'm looking at the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes, it's the Dodge. If it's mainly going to be a West Coast team, it's going to be the Dodgers, or honestly, it's going to be the Mariners, in my honest opinion. That's what I see. That's what I see. Who knows? Who knows, though? But I do believe Dave Dombrowski can do some maneuvering at this deadline. I don't think it's going to be, you'll definitely see some minor moves, no doubt. But who knows? Maybe Dave Dombrowski goes out and makes a splash that we just never expected. Maybe he goes out and gets a starter. Maybe he goes out and gets a huge bat that we just didn't expect. Maybe he goes after Nola Arenado. Who knows? Who knows? But we just gotta wait and see. We just gotta wait and see. So if we're looking at the rest of this series with the Phillies and the Brewers, like I said, tomorrow I believe it is Christopher Sanchez on the mound. Yes, it is. And on the mound for the Brewers is Colin Ray. I have no idea who this is. He is 5-4 with a 4.71 ERA, 33 years old, a right-handed pitcher. In his last couple of outings, 5 earned runs against the Reds, 2 earned runs against the Pirates, 1 earned run against the Mets, 4 earned runs against the Diamondbacks, and 4 earned runs against the Twins. Does give up home runs in his past couple of outings, so there's definitely something to that. Not sure if any of his... I've never heard of this guy, in my honest opinion. I never had. I believe it was supposed to be Wade Miley for this game, but then he got injured. So we're definitely going to have to wait and see there. And it looks like... I guess it looks like for the Brewers, they moved up guys in their rotation, because Corbin Burnes originally was not supposed to start the series. Now he is. He's pitching on Thursday afternoon when Taijuan Walker's on the bump for the Phillies. Corbin Burnes, he's 8-5 with a 3.73 ERA. Corbin Burnes in his last outing against the Reds was absolutely dominant. 6 innings and 13 strikeouts. But before that, 2 earned runs against the Reds, 2 earned runs against the Pirates, 4 earned runs against the Guardians, and 7 earned runs against the Diamondbacks. So that's definitely something to that there. So we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know who knows with the Brewers and Corbin Burnes, with the arbitration stuff that went on earlier in the offseason, how much they pissed him off. Could he be, that surprise trade that happens, because we all know what happened with the Josh Hader thing last year? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I couldn't tell you that. Yay. Who knows? There's a lot of things that could happen now. There definitely is. Yeah, I don't think the Mets are going to choke this game. They're still in the bottom of the 7th inning, 2 runners on with 2 outs, but who knows? Anything could happen. Looks like San Diego bounced back fine after the series loss. They're beating the Toronto Blue Jays 9-1 in Toronto. The Dodgers are crushing Baltimore 10-2, and the Marlins are still tied with the Cardinals. So that's interesting. That's interesting to see how that plays out. And before we end it off, I'll come to you guys in the live chat to see what you guys have to say. Scott, how you doing, man? It wasn't pretty, but it was a win. Brewers forgot to tell the top of the order over 20 to show up. Definitely was. Definitely was. How you doing, Corey? Fantastic game for Nola. That catch by Schwarber was insane. Owen Kimbrell has been a good closer for us. He's been more than good. He's been fantastic. Hopefully Stott is okay. Looked like he may have hurt his finger. I'm sure he's fine. Probably stung him a little bit because of the weird bounce that the ball took. Yeah, Nola did not allow a home run today, so that was definitely something that's been different. Kimbrell is making me eat my words. I thought he was washed. Told you there, Corey. That Marsh play in center field was brutal. He is not a good center fielder, more of a corner outfielder. I'd rather have Rhys out there for defense alone, but again, Harper at DH is killing them with other moves. Brewers are, Kimbrell has been unreal. People need to stop with the bashing. Soto has inherited 21 runners and only 4 have scored. He has some bad games, but I don't think he pitches enough to stay sharp. Runners in scoring position. Runners in scoring position, if they were a league average, they would be 20 over 500. Derek Hall is a black hole. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. He looks like Matt Walsh. Who are you talking about? Matt Walsh. Who is that? Gabriel. Who are you talking about? Matt Walsh. What are you talking about? Matt Walsh. You talking about me? I look like Matt Walsh? Is that what you're talking about? I have no idea. Ohtani would be awesome. He can solve 2 problems in one. Oh, yeah. Would I say no to Shohei Ohtani? Fuck no. I would not say no to that. I would love Shohei Ohtani. Dude is... How many home runs does he have already? Like 30, like almost 40 at this point, and we're barely just past the second half starting point of the year? Like, holy shit. Holy shit. The Mariners did a huge overpay to get Luis Castillo from the Reds. Phillies could do it for Ohtani. And that's the thing is Dave Dombrowski willing to? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Trey Turner is heating up. Hopefully that's the case, Evan. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully that is. But who knows? We're still a little bit from the trade deadline. It's like a couple of weeks away. August 1st, I believe. How many weeks is that, actually? Exactly 2 weeks from today, actually. So that's interesting. And also in some other news before we end this off, the Phillies did sign a lot of their draft picks from the recent MLB drafts. So that is nice to see. And also their first round pick, which was Aiden Miller. He crushed the ball into the bullpen like during batting practice this afternoon. That was nice to see. The kid definitely does have some raw power, so we'll definitely, hopefully he's a quick riser through the ranks, but he also did have that hand injury, which caused him to fall in the draft, so who knows how long he's going to take down in the development leagues. He's only 19 years old, so definitely could take some time, but who knows? Maybe he could be a quick riser. You never know. The raw power is there, though. The raw power is there. He's a pure hitter. Pure power hitter. But that's going to do it for today, everybody. Gonna be a busy week. Busy week of recaps. Busy week of editing. Doing a lot of editing this week before I get a little bit of a break here. So I'm definitely going to be doing some of that tonight. But before then, thank you for joining tonight, everybody. I appreciate everyone here, as always, joining the stream. So definitely do not forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. I like to see those as always. Don't forget to drop a like on the video. Do not forget to check out everything in the description down below. Also, hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. Join the TTP Sports family. Get us closer to 800 subs. We are 4 away. We're at 796 currently. Great place. Join up. Be a fun time. And also use the code TTP Sports. $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining today.